A mother cat walks up to a stranger's front door, drops her newborn kitten on the doorstep, and walks away. A dolphin pushes her injured calf directly into the arms of a diver treading water in the middle of the ocean. A wild elephant, one of the most powerful and potentially dangerous animals on the planet, gently nudges her struggling baby toward a group of human researchers standing nearby. These are not fairy tales. These are documented, real events that have happened multiple times across multiple species all over the world. And they raise a question so strange, so genuinely mysterious, that scientists and animal behaviorists have been trying to fully answer it for decades. Why would a wild animal hardwired by evolution to protect its offspring from predators, hardwired to fear humans, hardwired for survival, willingly bring its most precious and vulnerable possession to us? The answer pulls you into one of the most fascinating and emotionally complex territories in all of animal behavior. And by the time you reach the end of this, the way you think about the relationship between humans and animals will never quite be the same. Let's start with the most common version of this phenomenon: domestic animals, particularly cats and dogs. If you have ever owned a cat, there is a reasonable chance she has dropped a dead mouse, a bird, or even a live animal at your feet and stared at you with an expression of unmistakable pride and expectation. For a long time, people assumed this was simply a gift, the cat hunting on your behalf, providing for the family. And there is truth in that interpretation. Cats are solitary hunters, but when they form social bonds, particularly mother cats raising kittens, they engage in a behavior called provisioning, bringing food back to young who cannot yet hunt for themselves. When a domestic cat brings prey to you, many behaviorists believe she is treating you as a kitten. She has assessed you, found you incapable of hunting properly, and decided to teach you. You are her hopeless dependent. She is doing her absolute best to keep you alive, but the truly extraordinary cases, the ones that stop scientists cold, involve not prey, but babies. Living offspring. Wild or domestic animals who bring their actual newborns to humans. And this is where the science gets deeply interesting, because there are several overlapping explanations, and no single one covers every case. The first, and perhaps most powerful explanation, is trust. And not just casual familiarity, deep, hard-earned, biologically significant trust. Animals, like humans, make constant threat assessments. Every interaction with another creature, including a human, is being evaluated by their nervous system. Is this safe? Is this dangerous? Does this help me survive or threaten my survival? For an animal to bring its young to a human, that threat assessment has to have resolved so completely in the human's favor that the animal's brain has essentially reclassified that person. Not as a predator, not even as a neutral presence, but as a safe haven, a protector. Someone whose proximity increases the odds of survival rather than decreasing them. This reclassification does not happen accidentally. It happens through repeated positive interactions, through patience, through the animal learning over time that this particular human does not harm, does not threaten, and in many documented cases actively helps. Researchers who work long-term with wild animal populations, elephant conservationists, marine biologists, wildlife rehabilitators, sometimes report that animals they have assisted begin to seek them out during moments of vulnerability. A female elephant whose calf was saved by a conservation team was later documented returning to that same area with a new calf and allowing the researchers closer access than any wild elephant would ordinarily permit. She had stored that information. She remembered who helped, and on some level, her behavior suggested she wanted that help again. Memory is the bridge between the first encounter and the behavior we find so astonishing. Elephants, dolphins, great apes, and even some corvid birds possess memories that rival, or in some ways exceed human memory for specific social and survival-relevant information. An animal who received help from a human does not file that experience away abstractly. It is stored as a living, usable piece of knowledge tied directly to survival, the most powerful filing system in any brain. So when that animal faces a new crisis involving its young, the memory does not just surface as a feeling, it surfaces as a behavioral directive. Go there. That is where safety is. Dolphins present some of the most dramatic documented cases. There are multiple accounts from around the world of dolphin mothers bringing injured or stillborn calves to boats, to divers, to people standing in shallow water near shore. Some marine biologists interpret this as a distress behavior, the dolphin seeking help she instinctively understands she cannot provide herself. Dolphins are extraordinarily intelligent, possess complex emotional lives, and have been shown to grieve. A mother dolphin carrying a dead calf for days, which has been observed many times, is not acting irrationally. She is acting from an emotional state that is structurally very similar to grief in humans. And when that grief-stricken, desperate animal brings her calf to a human, she may be doing exactly what the behavior looks like she is doing. Asking for help from the only other intelligence in her environment that she has learned might be capable of providing it. This raises a question that sits at the edge of what science can currently measure. Do animals understand that humans have a different kind of intelligence, a different kind of capability that might be able to do things they cannot? The evidence, while not conclusive, is suggestive. There are documented cases of wild animals bringing injured companions, not just offspring, to humans and appearing to wait for intervention. A wild crow with a damaged wing approached a wildlife rehabilitator who had previously treated birds in the area and stood still while being examined. A chimpanzee with a wound she could not reach brought herself to a research station and presented the wound toward the researchers. These are not domesticated animals conditioned to human care. These are wild creatures making a calculated behavioral choice based on something they have assessed and understood about what humans can do. The emotional dimension of this cannot be separated from the biological one, because in animal behavior, they are the same thing. When a mother animal is in distress, when her young is sick, injured, or dying, she is operating under extreme physiological stress. Cortisol is flooding her system. Her threat response is heightened. Her decision-making is being driven by the most ancient, powerful imperatives in her brain. And in that state, what she reaches for is not random. She reaches for whatever her experience has taught her represents the best chance. And in case after case, for animals who have had meaningful contact with humans, that best chance is us. There is also a social learning dimension that scientists are beginning to take seriously. In highly intelligent, socially complex species, elephants, cetaceans, primates' behaviors are not only individually learned, they are culturally transmitted. Young animals observe their mothers, their group members, their elders. They learn what to do, who to approach, what is safe and what is dangerous. In communities where older animals have established a pattern of approaching certain humans during times of need, younger animals may be learning that behavior through observation. The trust, in a sense, becomes inherited, passed down not genetically, but culturally, the way human knowledge is passed down. Which means that in some animal communities, seeking human help during a crisis may be becoming a learned tradition. What does all of this mean? It means that when an animal brings its baby to a human, it is not doing something random, mystical, or inexplicable. It is doing something extraordinarily rational, rooted in memory, trust, social learning, and a sophisticated assessment of who or what in its environment can help. It is one of the most complex behavioral decisions any animal can make. It requires overriding the deepest instincts of self-preservation and infant protection. It requires remembering and applying past experience to a present crisis. It requires, in some form, a model of the other and understanding that this human being in front of me has capabilities I do not have and has used them to help before. And perhaps what is most remarkable of all is what it reveals about us. Animals are extraordinarily sensitive readers of other creatures. They have to be. Their survival depends on accurately assessing the intentions and capabilities of every living thing they encounter. When a wild animal brings its most vulnerable, most precious offspring to a human being and waits it is telling you something about what it has concluded about that human. That this person is safe. That this person can help. That out of every option available in this moment of crisis, this human being is the best one. That is not a small thing. In the long, complicated, often brutal history of the relationship between humans and the animal world, there are these extraordinary moments: a cat at a doorstep, a dolphin at a boat, an elephant at the edge of a human camp, where an animal looks across the boundary between species and decides, based on everything it knows, that we are worth trusting with the thing it loves most. The question is whether we have done enough, and whether we will continue to do enough to deserve that trust.